Fired up, footballers. Welcome back to another episode of Spitting Fire. No, not another episode. Another episode of Spitting Postgame. Jeffrey and James here with you as always. And real quick, as always, no Nico, no party. What is this, number 7 for him? In MLS?
But
I think it's 7. Yeah, and then I think he has 3 in U.S. Open Cup, so I think he has 10 on the year. That's my best guess right now.
Sure.
Okay, you ready? My favorite part. All right, let's get into it. So the Fire won 3-2. They beat New York City FC. The stats will say otherwise, though.
Total opposite of what I predicted, by the way.
Yeah, I said 2-1 win, and what was your prediction?
3-2.
3-2.
But New York win, so happy to be wrong.
Okay, so the Fire beat a good team at home. Shots, 5 shots, 5 on target. So I guess that's how you can win a game. 5 shots, 5 on target, compared to New York's 19 shots, 6 on target. Possession, 32% for Chicago Fire, 68% possession for New York.
That's Leicester City levels of possession right
Total
there.
passes, 335 for the men in red, 706 for New York City FC. Pass accuracy, 75% for Chicago Fire, 90% for New York City.
Much more.
Crosses, 4 for the men in red, 24 for New York City. Aerial duels, 32 for the men in red, 42 for New York City. So a little bit better in that department.
A little bit better in aerial duels, but look at those crosses. 24-4, 24-4, 20 more crosses. And they were trying to make them count. They weren't able to make them count.
They had Bergette in the middle.
But that short back line, having Brandon Vincent back there, certainly was not helping things, helping these things get cleared. But I'm surprised that the Fire did a little bit better in clearances with the aerials, but still not good enough.
Well, they had Campbell in, so that always helps. But Bergette was a lot to handle, so it's a good thing they had Campbell in because he did a pretty good job with Bergette all game. But the Fire won.
But that's how they ended up getting beaten, was by the aerials.
I think they had a good, Chicago Fire had a good first 30 minutes.
One of those goals.
Nico scored in the first 5 minutes of the game, the 6th minute of the game. Dax lost the ball, and actually Brandon Vincent had a wonderful play where he slid, won it. The ball came to Dax. Dax slid a through ball through to Nico, and Nico took a couple touches and potted it far post. So with 6 minutes in, we were already up 1-0.
Premier Nico goal, the usual what you want to be seeing out of him, and finally that he's getting the service to be able to put himself in that position to score there.
Mm-hmm. Well, he always makes those runs, so it's nice to see that someone is finally looking for those runs. In New York City, they played a really high line, so Dax mentioned in the postgame that was a game plan for them to look for Nico making those runs. Then the 36th minute, Tajori Shadi, a danger man for them. Really, Basti, Kali, and Corrales were kind of all spread out, a little caught out of position.
Quick throw-in?
And it was a quick throw-in, and Tajari Shadi got a little bit of space, hit a left-footed curler, and I really do think Richard had an opportunity to save that, but unfortunately went past Richard and 1-1 from there.
There's a little confusion of roles there between Basti, Dax, and Corrales, but Corrales clearly had to get the guy who was playing the wing spot, so it was not his guy to cover, the guy who had the ball. It was really more so Basti's guy to cover it, so it seemed, or Dax's, and both of them really didn't close down quick enough, and then the guy launched a very savable shot against Richard Sanchez, who just ultimately guessed wrong at the first, but managed to recover.
Flat, yeah, it was a little
flat. But he
flat.
recovered, but still wasn't able to get enough hand on that.
Interesting enough, that came right after the water break. So the water break was around the 35th minute, and the Chicago Fire they looked pretty good up until that point,
right there.
And then after the water break, Pono said it in his the halfway when he talks to God help me out here. Pono said it halfway.
Press conference?
Yeah, Pono's press conference halfway. Who are our guys? Fred Klopas and
Klopas and Tenorio, or
no.
not Tenorio?
Oh my gosh.
Kelly?
Dave Kelly. Thank you.
Brian Kelly?
Oh my God, we struggled there. He asked Pono, and Pono said basically after that water break we had a let off, and then bang, bang, bang,
Dan
2
Kelly.
quick goals. So 36th minute to Jori Shadi, and then the 40th minute Bergette scored. So 4 minutes later, it was a short free kick where there was a checking fullback, and he played an early ball, and then Bergette was standing in between Dax and Corrales, and typical Pono style when that zonal defending. I mean, you have little Corrales, little Dax, and then you have 6-foot huge Bergette in the middle, and that was like an 15 yards out, and he power header and put it past Richard.
That one more so falls on Corrales, probably. He let his guy, first off, get in front of him. He, instead of being in front of his guy, and the guy just outjumped him.
Dan Kelly. You said Brian Kelly.
I said Brian Kelly, but I corrected myself a second later. But Dan Kelly, yes.
Okay.
But he didn't, and he let the guy get ahead of him, so the guy had basically a clear run on towards the net, and then Dax was not in a position to be able to react correctly.
And how do you expect them even in
it's
the,
more
if they're
so
in the right
Corrales'
position?
issue
Even if they're
that.
in the right position, how do you expect them to compete with the guy like Burgett? I mean, clearly when that's his motif, that's his name to his game is winning those headers. I mean, you have two little dudes,
big guy,
and they're playing zonal defending on top of it. So, unfortunately, like the last 15 minutes of that first half, the Fire had a letdown, and it was 1-2 going into half. But they started hot. Right away, Katai scored in the 47th minute. Dax again played him out wide. He beat a player cutting inside 1v1, shot at far post, and boom, just like that, in a couple minutes, we were tied 2-2.
Great passing by Dax today on that night.
Two assists
and then
today,
also Katai just so calm, collected, and so composed upon that ball that he's sending these guys left and right. They're throwing slide tackles, and he's just like whoop, and he would pull the ball back and then go around.
Moves.
And he was just make them do what he wanted to do, especially because he's so dangerous with both feet.
Mm-hmm. Interesting enough, he was not an all-star, nor was Basti. Klopas made a couple comments about that, how they were robbed.
Correctly
And then,
so.
interesting enough, too, Katai was interviewed after the game, and he was asked about his confidence. And like you would guess, his confidence is soaring right now. So that really bodes well. But, of course, we got to keep that player first. Who knows? Today is the deadline, and nothing has been announced yet. So by the time we release this, we'll see if something's been announced.
He had a good answer, too, to the response to the question where, are you fitting in better with the team, or are you just more important to the team? And he's like, everybody here is important to the team. It's not about me being important. And it was just like a very John Wooden-esque response.
Well, and then he made a Messi comparison, like how Messi in the World Cup with Argentina is doing everything, but they're not winning.
He's like, you can't win. Messi can't win by himself. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later, Katai again. This time, Collier split him out wide. He beat a couple guys this time, and then went near post. And Sean Johnson was fooled, and just like that, boom, 3-2. And you saw a celebration. He's like, "What else do you want me to do?"
He boots the ball away right after it bounces out of the net too.
He was like, "What do you want me to do?"
What, Nelson, sign
Meet me here.
He's already bought a house here.
He bought a house?
Yeah, him and his, or they're bought land or something. Him and his wife apparently going to be trying to settle down.
They need to get that deal done. They need to get that done.
And it's today's July 1st already, the day that we're filming this.
What was do you know the record he
broke
with
Ante
Razov?
At this moment, they still have not signed him. So.
And what do you remember the record he broke from Ante Razov?
That was 18 goals from Nico. Are you talking about?
No, I thought he broke some record, some Ante Razov record with consecutive points or something.
I don't know.
Either way, Katai is on a tear. Great run of form. Another positive thing is getting Nico on the board. So Katai currently is leading the team in goals in MLS, but I know Nico has 3 in U.S. Open, so I think he still has more on the year. But really awesome that we have 2 guys that can score with Katai and Nico. But, I mean, really, throughout this game, really the only way we attack right now is through a counterattack. That's all we really have, is get the ball to Katai. But I did see some good moments. It did look better at times. But, I mean, really, how can it really look better when it's 68% possession in New York City? Dax was a little frustrated after the game.
Well,
he used some harsh words, just calling it, atrocious. I mean, 75% pass accuracy leading to 32% possession. So, I mean, that's understandable. And especially when it's a hot day, 100 degrees heat index, I mean, that's when you want to keep possession, because that's when you're not going to get tired. But hey, Fire were lucky enough to, win games. They're really winning games they're not supposed to. And it was nice to see them not win a game they're not supposed to by playing defense and parking the bus. They kind of tried to come out of their shell and attack a little bit. So it's cool for their confidence.
Sometimes, players, see other clubs playing very attractive forms of soccer that, a lot of goals and a lot of goal happy, and it's pretty soccer, kind of like the Blackhawks playing pretty hockey, and then other teams play more of a grind set of hockey or a grind set of soccer. And the Fire are right now in a position where they have to play a grinding sort of soccer to get these types of results, to get necessary to get them to the promised land. And you got to buckle down and get behind that notion this season. Maybe another season with more talent, we could play pretty and be better for it and play pretty soccer and play good, attractive soccer like like the Manchester United of old. but right now you kind of got to play like the Manchester United of now.
Just trying to survive.
You got to play a little bit more grinding soccer, even though they have a couple world-class players. You just don't have that
James,
quality all over the pitch that you could do that you could have that type of performance. You have to play that grind set style of soccer here.
Speaking of that style, how do you think Pano's been doing these last few matches?
Pano's press conferences and what he's been presenting to the team on the field has been impressive.
His demeanor is much better.
He's displayed a series of growth that we weren't so sure that he was capable of, and he's
grown, for sure.
He's knocked it out of the park as far as I can tell without having been at practices lately. But if you see what he's been saying in press conferences, if you see how he's been portraying himself and displaying himself in press conferences to his team on the field, he's getting the crowd fired up.
Tactic-wise, he's been being consistent, right? He's not changing tactics
even made
from
comments
game to
about
game.
him too, about himself too.
First team selection has been pretty consistent. I mean, we saw Lucho was out. And who else was out? Cap was out from a red card. But we're starting to see a consistent 11. So I agree with you that I think Pano has been trending in the right direction. I still think he can tinker a little bit more with that back line. I think that back line still needs to be tinkered with, unless he's just waiting for some reinforcements, and maybe that's just what that is.
I think one of the best signs you could see was going into that halftime talk when he was talking with Clopez and Kelly real quick, was how calm his demeanor was and how composed he was, despite the fact they were down 2-1, and how angry you've seen him in that same position in the past where he's like ready to like throw things. He looked like calm, cool. He's like he looked able to respond to it, and it was taking some of the emotion out of it.
The only time you saw that was the 90th minute when he was jawing for that.
That fire's good at those moments.
He went to the sideline and he was like,
you got to keep the ref on your toes. Absolutely.
All right, James, let's get into it.
And then he got the crowd. We love that passion and fire, but
Yeah.
it's a time and a place for everything, and he's choosing his moments so much better than he's ever done so in the past, and I think we're seeing the best out of Pano that maybe we've seen in a long time, maybe ever.
He's using his energy and his passion to better the team. All right,
absolutely.
Let's so we're gonna get to our player portion grades here, but I'm gonna start with the question here on Richard Sanchez.
Yes.
I think Richard Sanchez has had a poor game and kind of in a poor run of form, and almost so that he lost his spot for a couple games until he got hurt. So how do you feel about Richard Sanchez right now, James?
Well, if we're counting, that's probably Swiss cheese goal number 4 or number 5.
Some soft goals.
At the beginning of the season,
Corey Crawford
he was
soft
at 0-1 early on. But in the last maybe 5 to 8 games or so, those Swiss cheese goals the Swiss cheese goal tally has risen dramatically very fast. On top of that, we're seeing teams start to really, and I've said this, I'm going on repeat here, that they're picking on his distribution.
Oh my God.
Often.
Sometimes when they press, oh my God, you just broke the pen. But when they press, Richard, they have 3 strikers and wingers running at him, and he's pooping his pants, and he's like, and then he kicks the ball. So much so you hear Pano saying often, Richard, faster, Richard. And so he's got to play quicker.
Got a yellow card.
Yeah. And
for not playing fast enough for the ref.
He still looks uncomfortable on the ball, and you're right. We're starting to see some issues with his saving ability. So we'll see what happens there. Corrals, James.
Yeah, back to Richard.
Okay,
hopefully we've seen a few cracks in his confidence, and
you know what, that might be
if the Fire bringing somebody in, if Fire brings somebody in, it's either going to push him to be better, or it's either sink or swim. And what remains to be seen what decisions are going to be made by the Fire in that regard.
Who knows?
Corrales, I thought one of the things we've been saying is that 30 to 40 minute performances. I thought we saw a 60 to 70 to 80% minute
better
performance.
Game from him for sure.
One of his best games in a Fire jersey, and he's been having good games anyway. It's just a matter of stamina for him and a matter of being in the right position defensively. Even still, there were times where
he's not getting forward as often as he used to, but I think that's just because Campos has been told to do that now, so maybe he's just holding a little bit more.
Pano must have him and Brant having playing a very disciplined type of defense, because I was surprised at how loose they were allowing their defense, but Pana was allowing it, and I mean that was their plan, and it seemed to work out.
Yeah, and he was involved, I think, in that Tajor Shradi goal, but overall, I think he had a good performance.
And the teams don't seem to be picking on those areas. Remember, like when Brandon Vincent was early on in the season getting picked on, and then sometimes that we saw Ellis getting picked on.
Yeah, they focused on that left-hand side.
I'm not seeing really either side really get focused on. They're really going on. Maybe they're going the middle. Maybe they're going every which way. And yeah, he's been doing well.
All right, so Brandon Vincent, I think
well done for Corrales.
We're seeing. I still see some moments of struggle where Brandon, he really struggles on those aerial duels. I mean, especially when you see a guy like Bridgette, 6 foot huge, he's not going to win those, but he knows how to position. I think he was a little bit more comfortable today, but still, he's not a center back. I think Brandon's a very good fullback, a very good left fullback, and I'd rather see him there. But for right now, until again, maybe he's there until we get more reinforcements this summer. So, but I think an okay performance for Brandon, and yeah, we got 3 points because of it.
I'm not seeing enough from Brandon that to keep him out there
okay.
versus a Lillard or even a Dean who ended up making the bench over a Lillard.
Yeah, I know, that's really concerning. Dean is making the bench over Lillard.
But I think that Brandon might be much better than Dean.
Well, Brandon has
we
to
saw
play.
What Dean has to offer,
Yeah.
and Brandon
is those first 2
better
games
than that.
Dean.
So we do know that. So Brandon is possibly better than Dean.
He's a good defender, but again, he's not a true center back. I mean, he's 5'11", 5'10", and he struggles. In a position where you're supposed to be a hoss, a big boy.
You're talking about Brandon.
Yeah.
Well, Dean is a bigger guy, and so is Lillard. And Lillard, I thought, did a lot. What the flashes of what we saw from Lillard are better than what we've seen from Brandon Vincent.
He's in Pano's doghouse.
From the best of Brandon Vincent in center back, we saw better from Lillard in his short flashes.
And and leading that into Campbell, I think Campbell had a very good game. There's going to be moments where Campbell is going to do
his height's so useful.
He does have a couple of yips here and there where he does something wrong, but overall, I mean, I find myself complimenting Campbell more than not. I mean, he like you're saying, he can't teach height, can't teach being tall, and he wins those aerial duels. And he plays some good long balls, and his distribution on the ball
bad passes.
More than not is usually okay. But no, that's why I preface this with he definitely had a few giveaways, but I still think he's providing a nice presence on that back line, especially for winning those aerial duels.
And a very calming presence, a reliable person. It seems like the voice back there anyway that we've so far as what we've seen. Campos. I think Campos has been impressive at right back. You would not think that he is that this is his first time playing this position. I mean, he still has some of those moments where he's maybe a little bit slow to track back.
Yep, that's my only knock. I have Campos is slow to recover, which in my mind, as a fullback, is just really unacceptable. Especially when you're 3 defenders, working their tails off to keep that goal. If you lose the ball, you got to track back. It needs to be 100% sprint, and you get in front of that goal. But that's we only saw him do that a few times. But overall, like you said, he is doing pretty well.
He's not getting tested a lot when he is back
You're
there.
Right, he's not
when he is getting tested, he's answering the call more times than not. And on top of that, I've seen some veteran beguile, some veteran wiliness to his game. Yesterday, when it seemed like one of the wingers was going to beat him, and I just saw him grab the guy's shirt in just such a way that he didn't draw the attention of the ref. And these are just small little gamesmanship moves where he gets the guy's jersey and he was able to turn him around and turn himself around in that same moment. So the guy whips Campos around, puts them both set up in a position to run onto that ball and play defense. So it was such a good. I'm like, wow, that was a veteran right back move that he is not, a right back by trade that he was pulling off there.
And he's getting forward. He's pushing that high line. Almost acting like a second winger. So Campos still pretty good. Brant Bronico, again, I thought Brant had a good game. Worked his butt off. Played a little bit of left winger at the end of the game. I really don't have much to say besides I think he worked hard, won some 50-50 balls, distributed well in there, and again, like he always does, meshed well with Dax and Bastien.
He was serving up as a link man. He got the ball to Dax for one of those goals. And on top of that, look how versatile he is. When Collier is pulled out, he's able to go over to that left wing, and you don't lose too much defensively because Brant Bronico brings a lot defensively to the table.
Yeah, he does.
No matter what position he's in.
He's got a little bit of that engine mentality. And Dax McCarty. I think Dax McCarty, this was one of the best Dax McCarty games in a very long time. Did
Absolutely.
boatload of work defensively, and then, of course, having 2 assists today. Very, very productive game for the captain, Dax McCarty. Really nice to see him put in a shift like that. And, yeah, I mean, that bodes well for the Chicago Fire when Dax is playing his best football.
Incredible vision, incrable passing yesterday,
Yeah,
incredible work rate, as per usual.
Yeah.
And Dax was being Daxy last night. Was Basti being Basti?
I would say so. I think Basti was Basti. There's, the one thing what's starting to bug me a little bit with Basti is you see his frustration a lot, and you didn't see that at all really last year. And now you're just starting to see his frustration, particularly to Collier. There's times where Basti was pressing and Collier is way back there, and he's right. Collier should be up there. But I'm just starting to see a little bit, too much negative emotion on the pitch from Basti. But
maybe that's the point.
I guess when I think about what he did on the pitch, though, I think he had a good game. He did do a good game. I mean, we won 3-2. I know on Who Scored he did not have a very high-rated game, though. So
I thought it was a subdued game for him, but of course, heat's going to be playing a factor for everybody on the field.
He was subbed out. When have we seen that?
Subbed out in the 83rd minute for Chani, who actually played okay too.
Yeah, he's been okay for his 10 minutes that he's come on.
For the 10 minutes that he came in.
But you're right. I mean, I guess you're right. Now that I've thought about it a little bit more, maybe a little down game for Basti.
It wasn't a terrible game by him by any means, just subdued.
Yeah, just middle of the level. Maybe that's just due to the heat.
Yeah.
We'll end with Katai. Let's go with Collier.
Yeah, go with Collier.
I'll say this. I don't think Collier did very much. He just looks slow. He looks like he's dragging a piano or a parachute, and he just can't get there. He actually is smart and has some soccer IQ and can get involved, but he just doesn't have the either the touch or the technique to do what he wants to do and be positive with the ball when he gets it. He had a couple of opportunities, but he worked hard, put in a good shift, but I really don't think Elliot Collier should be an option there going forward.
Used his height a little bit better yesterday for sure.
He got knocked off the ball sometimes, I saw.
But still was getting knocked off the ball when he had the ball, but he was winning a couple more 50-50s than I thought usually. It's become clear why Lucho is probably the better starter over him at that point. But Lucho did pick up a knock and is going to be out. I don't know for how long. I don't know. So Lucho's going to be out. MDL is working his way back. Probably not going to be back till August. Same thing with Georgi Mihailovic. And maybe even Brant Bronico could fill it as a winger out there for you, is what you saw.
Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting with Brant with the summer transfer window rolling around. I mean, I know a lot of people want a cam, a lot of people want a winger or just a general attacking player. And it's going to be interesting.
A lot of people just want to sign Katai.
Yeah,
at least. And start there and move on.
Speaking of Katai, you want Katai? Let's go with
Katai. How many more games of the season does this guy got to put in for Nelson Rodriguez to sign him?
Put in a shift.
Put in another shift in 90-plus degree weather and was just impressive. Just individually so creative, so determined, so dangerous. And defensively, all the stuff that we were saying about him defensively in the beginning of the year was true. It's no longer true in any of these past games. He's been working so much harder. He's been in the right position. He's been putting in the work on both sides of the ball. And when he does get the ball and those offensive points, gosh darn, is he one of the most dangerous players in the league.
Oh, my gosh. It's incredible. His conversion rate is off the charts. I mean, and one thing that is so dangerous with him is how good he is with his left and right foot. I mean, he reads what the defenders give him, and then he just goes the other way. I mean, a quick fake with his right, he uses his left, or vice versa. A quick fake with his left, he uses his right. So, I mean, he's so dangerous. And
he throws so many fakes at you with both directions, and he's so confident at launching each way that, as a defender, he's so hard to defend. Versus, like, maybe a guy who's a bit more one-dimensional as, like, an Arjun Robin, who, he's always going left.
Yeah, he has his one move. I'll end with Nico. Nice to see Nico get rewarded.
But Arjun Robin's still one of the most dangerous men in the world.
Nemanja Nikolic always makes those runs. He's always testing that back lines, and I know that actually frustrates fans sometimes with his offsides rate. But, I mean, Nico is one of the best strikers in the league, Golden Boot winner, and it is about time we got on the goal sheet. I don't think he scored at all in the month of June. I don't think he scored at all in the month of June.
Didn't he get U.S. Open Cup stuff?
Well, in the MLS fixtures. So I know he scored in U.S. Open Cup in June, but finally, especially with the Chicago Fire now in playoff contention, they're in a playoff spot. I mean, getting Nemanja Nikolic rolling, keeping Katai rolling. Obviously, we got to keep him. I mean, maybe we finally do have some momentum here. Even though we dropped points, we found our way into a playoff spot. So
crawled our way into it, and New York City dropped a few points to us, so that's huge. They also top about a second position.
In flux right now.
New York Red Bulls and Atlanta now at the top. Atlanta's probably running away with it. New York Red Bulls probably really going to be really hard to catch up to.
Crew will be up there too.
And really, New York City is only a point behind New York Red Bulls, so I don't know how they're going to catch up to them. So really, the catchable teams are the Crew, Columbus, and New England. And then we still have to keep or teams like Montreal and Toronto, who we're going to be playing twice, I believe, in July. You really got to win those games.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Pono keeping with some consistent tactics, so the lads can just get a little familiarity with the system, and when we do bring in some transfer targets, they could just come in and assimilate as quickly as possible.
What about the subs, real quick? Alan Gordon came in, did a job.
Alan Gordon came in,
did a great job. Got in there, mixed it up too.
Mo came in at
maybe a couple
minute?
fouls, but you know what? He did what he was asked to do. Mo went in there, did what he was asked to do as well.
Yep.
A couple of moments where there was one moment maybe where it wasn't so. Where I remember he didn't have the greatest performance for one moment, but other than that, one moment, pretty solid.
Well, that's always hard to do as a sub. I mean, it takes a couple touches to get into the game. So.
Yeah, and then last off, Chani comes in and gives a solid 10 minutes, not out of place. I mean, when Spasti's coming off and Chani's coming out, admittedly the quality is such a big drop off, but even still, Chani,
it's better.
It wasn't really noticeable.
The last couple of games
had a good performance.
When he's coming in as a sub, he's been that center attacking mid, so he's not too far back where he can hurt us. Pono kind of just puts him up to say, hey, be big, strong, athletic, and just be that spearhead of our defense. So he's putting in that shift. But I think that's all I got. Nice to see Chicago Fire win 3-2 against a good team. Back in playoff spot. Got to keep Katai, and then hey, hopefully we sign a couple more targets in the transfer window, and who knows what's possible. So let's go.
Let's go Fire!
Yeah.
All right, fired up footballers. We'll see you guys later. Subscribe for more Spinning Fire and toss us a like if you enjoyed the analysis. Comments below if you guys want to add anything. All right, later.